No mai, haere mai, to grey areas with me, Petra Bagust. A treat for you today, a bonus episode before season 9 begins, which we are busy beavering away at. This episode was recorded over the ditch in Australia. I met Safina Stewart at a media and arts conference on the Gold Coast, and hearing her present made me want to sit down and hear more. Safina is an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander. She's an artist and an advocate, and more specifically, Safina is a proud Wutati and Mbuyag Island woman who grew up across multiple cultures here in New Zealand, Papua New Guinea and Australia. She is passionate about culture, education, the arts, justice and faith, and she has a very gritty and gorgeous life story. So before we begin, a content warning. Towards the end of our discussion, we talk about domestic and sexual violence and suicidal thoughts. Please take care of yourself when listening. Here's Safina. Well, this is a first for grey areas. We have never recorded anything outside of Aotearoa, New Zealand. We have never recorded anything in a hotel. I know that there's construction happening outside, and we've never had an Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander on grey areas. So ngā mihi nui ki a koe. Thank you so much for joining grey areas and me today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Safina Stewart, you are an educator and an artist. Can we just provide a little bit of context for listeners? Tell us about yourself and your beginnings.
I've lived a very short 45 years, but so much has happened in that 45 years. I was born in Aotearoa in Auckland at Henderson Hospital because my parents were studying at the Bible College of New Zealand at the time. But I was raised in Papua New Guinea, in the highlands of Papua New Guinea. So I just thought I was a bush pikinini, which means a child of the bush. We didn't necessarily always wear clothes, and we ran around with machetes and homemade bow and arrows, and I chased butterflies a lot.
Did you cut the butterflies with machetes or no?
No. The machetes were for building the cubby houses.
Cool.
But I was raised up in Papua New Guinea, where, again, in a Bible college called Christian Leaders Training College, my parents worked. My mum as a nurse, my father as a teacher there, and I had the privilege of growing up in a sister culture. A sister culture because the Torres Strait Islands are a Melanesian culture just like Papua New Guinea. And so although I didn't live what we say on country, so on my island, which is Mbuyag Island, and on my country at the tip of Cape York in Australia, which is Wutati country, I wasn't raised there, but I was raised in communities and cultures that are sister to my traditional cultures. And in fact, I've always lived far, far away and have had to figure out what home means in the diverse descriptions that home is, including finding home within myself. That's been the hardest struggle. But through my life, through things like culture clashes and culture shock, being a missionary kid, being a pastor's kid, never belonging. I've also encountered some very difficult experiences and stories that I've started to notice not many other Australian children have had to put up with. And what I connect that with is very much, this is a narrative that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have suffered and experienced for a very, very long time. But Australia as a whole is very good at ignoring or silencing or pretending that those narratives don't exist. So finding place and home and then finding a sense of vocation has been an interesting journey for me. I couldn't read.
How old were you when you couldn't read?
Oh, I didn't read until I was 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
So can I ask a question about being a bush pikinini, which is a gorgeous phrase.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you belonged as a bush pikinini in growing up in Papua New Guinea? Did you did you see your difference then, or was it an awakening at a certain age?
I never knew I was different.
Okay.
When I was in Aotearoa, I didn't know I was any different. I belonged. When I was in Papua New Guinea, I belonged. When I came to Australia, I did not belong.
Okay, how old were you when you arrived in Australia?
I was in grade 4, which would have been a 10-year-old girl.
Okay. And where did you settle in Australia?
Melbourne.
Okay. So urban.
Yes, urban, eastern suburbs. Usually the socioeconomics was middle class, highly educated, and a monoculture.
Okay, so you arrive in Australia, you're 10, you can't read. You've grown up with machetes and running around, wearing clothes or not.
Singing all the time.
What is that like for you?
It's horrific. It's shocking, yeah. And I think there was a depression that must have set in from a young age, and great relief when we returned to Papua New Guinea just for a short stint before permanently coming back to Australia, where I had to grapple again, but in a deeper way with surviving, dare I say surviving,
So did your parents have any idea what was going on for you? Or do you have siblings at this, you've got family?
Yeah, my older brother, Stuart, my younger sister, Renee. I think my parents had an incredible awareness, and particularly about celebrating people's cultures and celebrating their strengths, and how they connected in with food or hospitality or celebration. So I found that my parents were really community orientated and taught we 3 children how to not blend in, but to be well within it. And I'm very grateful for their support and security. But I think there were some things that they weren't able to anticipate because perhaps it was a different world or a different Australia view than what they would have had.
And they were adults, right? They weren't experiencing Australia for the first time as a 10-year-old like you were. They were in a different space.
Yeah.
That sense of community, can we talk into it? Because we're in this age of individualism, and yet it's being found wanting, the building your own brand and being your own person and making or breaking your own life based on, whether you say or do the right things online at times, and this, I can get to the top of that mountain by myself. It's all these crazy ideas that we've sort of, the American dream vibe that we've lent into, the hero's journey. Like, it feels to me like community's the antidote to that, and yet community's so inconvenient, right? There's annoying uncle somebody or other and auntie so-and-so and cousin such and such and the neighbour. Neighbours at War is a television show. Like, can you describe to me your experience of community and cultures of community?
It's interesting because community can be difficult.
I think it is difficult, and I think that's part of it. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's going to express itself in health and unhealth at times, right? You can have an unhealthy community and a healthy community.
And what keeps a community healthy is a lot of honesty, but also accountability.
Healthy boundaries?
Healthy boundaries, yes.
So tell me about what's your experience of a healthy community like that? What role might you have had as a sub-10-year-old?
Before I was 10, when I was living in Aotearoa in Papua New Guinea, I would say that I experienced community where all the aunties were my mothers. I didn't really have very much to do with all of the uncles. I knew that they were around, but they were kind of a little bit more distant. The brothers were close by, but they just loved hanging out with the uncles. But the aunties just looked after me so much. I could bounce from one family home to another family home under one tree, making the string bags called bilums or other handicrafts. I could bounce from one auntie circle to another auntie circle and be welcomed and held and fed and put to sleep and then sent back to my own mother, just completely secure. And then back at home, I would know my parents would welcome in so many different people, and who entered into our house, into our home, they were safe. I felt safe and seen and known. So I feel like I was raised by a community. Yeah.
Interesting. And in Australia, obviously, in that middle socioeconomic area, we kind of pride ourselves on independence, right? If I need something, I'll go to the shop and my fence is high enough to to keep all the danger out, but also perhaps some of the goodness out.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't people realise what they're missing out on, Petra? Children growing up today, they wouldn't know who to run to if ever they wanted to share some good news or to find somewhere safe. They wouldn't know where to run to down their street or in their neighbourhood. They're just told, go to the police station or call this phone number. But who do you run to? Whose arms do you run into? Who you will know will stand and put their body on the line to celebrate you or to protect you? Our children are the ones who are at loss if we can't build community well.
So what are the building blocks of good community, in your opinion? I mean, you're an educator, so you're dealing with probably vulnerable children and children who are thriving.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I try and imagine what community would look like if I could remake it here in my small town of Wonthaggi, which is a very regional town in Victoria. I would like for the structures around our young people to be very strong and interconnected. So the health service is connected well to the schools. The schools are connected really well to the youth hubs. The youth hubs are really well connected to the sporting arenas, and it keeps travelling around and around. The homework clubs, but that all of those are also known well to the parent community, and where the parent community can also know each other and feel supported as well.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things about my high school experience, not my personal high school experience, but the high school experience of my children, was of being entirely unneeded by them. Like, see you later, like giving up your kids at the door, and then that being it. It felt like a missed opportunity. I think the Catholic school system in New Zealand does it better. I think the parents are more integrated. But there is this, it's almost countercultural to lean into community, right? And to embrace that inconvenience. You have an artistic studio space, so you've taken up a retail space where you express yourself creatively and people come and go from that space.
Oh, it's been so interesting. So 18 months ago, goodness. So we had the voice referendum in Australia.
Yes. Do you want to give a
is that okay? Because it actually has to do with my studio.
Yeah, let's go.
This was a horrific time for our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community, because we had asked for the entire Australian nation to recognise us in the Constitution of Australia, which unfortunately, since it was written, hasn't recognised us as the first peoples, as the people of the land, as the spirit people here. There's no recognition that Creator formed us from the land, blew into our nostrils, gave us breath, and gave us law and responsibilities that we have very carefully maintained and retained and sustained the land, keeping it healthy and well. So to not be in the Constitution of Australia basically means that we're foreigners in our own land, which should sound remarkably unjust, but unfortunately people think that's the way that it is and should remain that way, and it's always been that way. But there's a longer story that we know. During the voice referendum, we asked the Australian people to say yes to having us recognised in the Constitution, and to also allow us to have a body or an advisory type committee of elected Indigenous peoples who could speak on behalf of the needs and the desires and voices of the broader community. They would be elected, of course, and that advisory body would then be a support to the government as they considered the bills that they would pass, any type of legislation, suggesting to them whether it would be a helpful or unhelpful bill for our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, knowing that out of every population in Australia, it is our First Nations people who have the worst indicators on all scales, whether that's employment, health, education, housing, just all of them.
We understand this as New Zealanders.
Yeah.
Sadly, our statistics are a shadow of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
When the Australian public voted on the 13th of October 2023, they voted a majority no. And the echo and the haunting of that was that we were not wanted. I can't describe the kind of grief that I saw our community go through, what I personally felt, what traumas my kids went through, my mum, my relatives, let alone the fuller national community of our First Nations people.
This advisory board was also a non-binding advisory board. They were to offer their opinion and then the government could choose to listen or not listen.
Yeah.
So What was it that made Australians vote no? Was it fear?
Yeah.
Was it the thought that this could cost people a lot or could slow legislation down? What were their drivers?
I'm still trying to work that out because I actually think the Australian public were left very confused about what the situation was.
I heard it was a tricky campaign.
Yeah, and since then I've heard that all sorts of horrible tactics were used to bleed conspiracy theories and misinformation. Misinformation and disinformation were the words, but when I looked up the definition, it was just breeding lies.
Okay,
just
that's a good
half-truths.
Yeah.
Some sounded slightly true, leaves people confused.
Yeah.
But when you allow that type of, I keep thinking of mold, black mold, the pores, when you release it into the air, it just floats and can go anywhere. And the spores just start infecting all different places. Yes. So that's what misinformation and disinformation looks like to me. But I actually think that fear was, in a way, when you inflame, when you add fuel to something, that those spores of confused information or lies about our people, or when racism was released, it fuels fire onto people's already unsure or scared or slightly guilty or feeling false guilt or white shame. It just made those very uncomfortable feelings surface for a lot of people. And when the line, it's just so simple, when the line came out from our conservative parties who were against The Voice, when the coalition released this one-liner, if you don't know, vote no, it made me so angry because as a mother, as a teacher, as a human being, I know if you don't know, go and find out. So it wrecked people's sense of their right. It wrecked people's right to go and investigate further because it actually dismissed and perhaps even deflated their own intelligence. Our citizenship is an incredible privilege. Aboriginal people had to fight for our citizenship, and it was only granted to us in 1967, not in the 1800s, not in the 1700s when the British ships first came, but in 1967. And so that right, privilege or responsibility to vote is a very tender thing for us. And yet the right to vote also comes with it a lot of tricky landscape.
Yeah. I do, I actually don't know if this is of any use, but I remember doing a school project in primary school. I must have been maybe 10 or 11, and it was on Aboriginal people of Australia. And I just remember being heartbroken. I just remember being like, can I even go to that country? Is this country safe to go to? And that acknowledges that I was unaware of the racism within my own country at that time. I wasn't consciously aware of it. And yet the tenderness with which there has been so much suffering by
Yeah.
Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders. The no vote result was such a national level knockback. It raises the question of how to keep going, how to hold on to hope that things could change. And I do wonder if sometimes the antidote to massive despair is taking small local action. Coming up, Safina and I talk about her art studio, her mission for each and every work to make an impact and tell a story. Share this episode with your friends and press subscribe on your favourite listening platform. That way you'll never miss a new episode. Have you experienced this personally? Like, say you've got a public space, you've got people coming into and out of your studio. What is it like today?
Well, it is confronting, yes. But it's my defiance.
Oh, tell me more.
Oh.
I like this idea. I want to hear what you have to. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
The truth is, art is very hard to create and make. It's a labour of love. Sometimes you get into a flow and you love what you're doing. But my art is often storytelling and statement art. It might be theological thought. It might be cultural exchange. So I have to consider the viewer carefully to try and help the message translate into their world. I am not a practicing artist that just has a good time creating something and that I don't care about the impact that it will have. I desperately want it to have an impact because I know that my gift is not about the art, it's being the storyteller, and that the message has to be delivered well to those who are waiting to hear it. So my process is very thoughtful, quite prayerful, and a lot of music and dance involved as well.
Cool.
But there's a lot of imposter syndrome that likes to visit me. To then put it out publicly, I never believed that I could, and I never believed that I would. Again, all that interference, all that self-doubt, all of that shadow thinking that's come from darker voices in my life that have had power previously. I always have to do battle with them. That's okay. I'm getting better at wielding my sword of truth at them. But one of my inspirations was my late brother. And one of my great motivations for justice was the outcome of the referendum, because I wanted to say to the world, we are here. We as First Nations, beautiful, wise, creative, soulful mystics, are here. And although you don't want us to be here, although you don't want us to have a voice, although you don't want us to speak, we shall now sing. We shall now dance, and we shall now declare our truth more boldly than ever, simply because you tied our mouths. You closed our mouths. And because your ears are plugged, I have to do it louder, because the truth is still here, given to me by Creator, by our elders, by our ancestors. It is my calling, my responsibility to take up my role and shove this into your heart. And if your ears are plugged, I've got to find another way. And so I choose the way of the artist, the way of the painting.
Yeah.
And as people come into my studio and ask me, oh, what does that one mean? Well, they've asked the question, I get to tell them the answer. Ooh. And then they give comment whether they love it or whether they have an opinion. You know, it all comes out. Sometimes it's a bit scary what comes out.
Really? Any examples you can think of?
I often get a lot of, can I be this specific? I get a lot of really lovely white middle-aged men who try to come and love me and look after me as their little daughter and tell me that I'm lovely and beautiful and eloquent and articulate, but actually you need to thank me for the position that you have been given, because I have opened the way up for you. Wow. So that's an interesting one. That's a very privileged, entitled space that I've come across in that particular characterisation of racism. I always laugh because they forget that there's a cafe right next to me, and I just say, "Oh, you want to go for a cuppa?" And as I go for a cuppa, I've also asked for all of my waitress friends down there to help take him away from me so that I can escape.
Yeah.
So there's ways of keeping safe. I've also had people who come in and ask questions. They're not actually wanting to ask the question, you know, when it's a backhanded way of making a statement or a very rude, crude comment, which is trying to spur a reaction, trying to hurt, but they frame it as, "Oh, I have a question for you," so they've got my ear and I'm curious to listen to them. That's a cruel way of slapping someone down. I don't like them. They're a bit... I can pick them quickly now, and I know how to stroke them. Metaphorically.
To keep yourself safe and to
exit quickly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But I have also found that if you have someone who has an open and broken heart for Aboriginal people, who are aware of the injustices and are on board for making change and making things right, they are your biggest advocate, one of the greatest advocates. And I have more of those friends who would be my father's age than I have enemies that I've kept friends who are continually racist.
Wow. I think you're so right that we will attribute value judgments and character judgments like lazy to people who might have a learning difficulty, to people who are a different shape or size to us, or they're a lazy person. And there's something so damning about it. Like, there's no room to move when that person's character is maligned and questions aren't asked. Like, you can't read. You're 18 years old and you can't read. What were people's perceptions of you? What was your perception of yourself?
Oh, my perception of myself was horrific.
Okay.
Horrific. I wasn't light enough. My mother is dark. My father is white. And so I wasn't light enough to be white, and I wasn't dark enough to be black. I look back at that young girl, that young Safina, and I think I just want to hold her and tell her how terrific she is. She's incredibly smart. You know, she became the elite sportswoman of every school she ever went to. She could talk really well. So in a class, which was usually a chalk and talk type of method of teaching, if you raised your hand and spoke to answer the question orally, you usually weren't called on to read a passage. So she was quite clever at getting around things. And when homework was needing to be submitted, she would get help from her parents to type things.
Wow.
So that was helpful. But at the same time, I think I was, I felt that I was very unintelligent because I struggled with things that were easy for other people. Yeah. Now I know that that's called dyslexia. Now I know that that's called neurodivergence. Now I know that that's called moving schools a lot. Now I know that that's racism in the playground, where you don't get the extra support because you don't want to be looked like you're being treated better. So you're not called into the special ed support groups that could have done reading recovery or something. Or you're just so good at pretending and scapegoating and doing all those things that you deliberately are trying to be avoided. So I think it's a blend and a mix of lots of different things, but I just don't know who had my back. No one had my back.
Wow. That's tough, right?
I do want to say, though, that I graduated and went to teachers' college. And
your parents had your back, but they can't be everywhere all the time, right?
Yeah, they definitely had my back.
Yeah.
They definitely did.
But inside the system, you were probably free-floating.
That's right.
Well done at graduating and getting to TCOL. That's amazing.
Yeah. And would you believe that the first year when I would sit in the lectures for literacy, there was a class for literacy, how to teach children to read.
Yeah.
And I was learning it for myself. I would go home and I would get the books and I would decode the sounds of the letters and block them together and sound out words. And I learnt how to read in my first year of uni.
Wow.
And then when I graduated, however many years later, I did inclusive education, special education, because I wanted to help other Indigenous children who were being left behind. I would be the teacher that would teach them how to read. When I finished, I graduated the ducks of the whole entire collective.
No way.
Yeah, shut up, I'm awesome.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow. This is the thing, right? If you were to pause your education or your growth as a person pre-Teachers College, if you were to go, well, I'm obviously done and this is not for me, then you don't ever get to experience the expansiveness of that.
That's right.
It's massive.
I won a scholarship to go to university.
Okay.
And I can't thank those people enough for seeing my potential and for...
Was it a sports scholarship?
No, it was an equity scholarship. Wow. So for those in the population who were not represented well in the student community, and so Indigenous students in the education space, in the Faculty of Education. And so I won a scholarship, which at first I was horrified at and didn't want because I didn't want to be treated as anything special, because I believed the lies that I had to prove myself as equal and not be given equity. But when I received it, I actually had no way of leaving university because my debt I would have to pay if I left. It actually was a seatbelt that kept me there. Wow. But I can't be more grateful because I was kept there.
Wow.
And now I would hope that I've paid it back a millionfold because of somebody investing, some wonderful, rich person or collection of people that saw potential in Indigenous students going to university.
I need you to answer a question for me.
Yes.
What would you say to people who see in New Zealand Māori or Pacific Islanders getting scholarships or equity scholarships, and they're like, they're taking a place of my child who's worked hard? Like, what do you say to...
Oh, they're not taking a place. Where does that come from? They're not taking a place. You are gaining so much by having them come through the system. And your student can go there too. It's not competition. I think sometimes in this capitalist world of consumerism and individualism, we've bought into the lie of a competitive system.
It's written into our education system.
That's right.
Competition.
So we have to compete.
Yeah.
But actually this isn't about competing. It's actually about balancing and bringing abundance into the space.
I love that. It's not about competing. You don't actually need to measure yourself against others. You can throw out the scales entirely. Coming up, we talk about practicing self-love and menopause, which is quite the invitation. You can find me on Instagram. I'm at Petra Bagust, and you can now watch the full episode on video if you like to listen with your eyes as well. You've referenced education. Education feels like it was super important to you in the end. It was both your oppressor and your releaser. What would we call that?
I don't know. I think it's a stallion I've learnt to ride.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're an educator, you become a mum, you have your own family.
Oh, there's a lot more to that.
Oof.
I'm in a marriage of domestic violence.
Okay.
Where there's a lot of sexual assaults, a lot of affairs, and my safe haven is being a teacher.
Okay.
And where I am safe and able to explore creativity and connection and community is in a school, a conservative Christian school.
Wow.
Where I'm told by the head of the school that I'm not to bring my Aboriginality into any influences because it is disgusting, it is evil, it is not loved by God, and I must not infect the students.
Oh dear.
So when your boss says that, and then at your home your husband is treating you like nothing, there's not too much that you can do except for die. And so I died 1,000 deaths. And when I broke and was released from that cage, I found that I was pregnant with my firstborn, my beautiful daughter. And the problem with being pregnant and knowing that children are precious is that you can't commit suicide. Again, another seatbelt that kept me having to remain in that place. And so I returned to my parents. I had a beautiful baby. And I learnt how to love my baby. And at the same time, to love my baby, I had to learn how to love myself. Now, not like myself. I didn't like myself, but I had to learn how to love myself. Over the years, I've started to really like myself. In fact, I think I'd be a really good friend to me in these days. Yeah.
I absolutely love that, because it was in the birth of my first child that my therapist said to me, you will not be able to love this child in the way that you want to unless you learn to love yourself.
That's what they said to me.
And I was like, get out.
It's true, though.
That is terrible. What terrible information, because I was desperate to love my daughter well. I was desperate to give her the love that she needed. And hence I started the project Petra, where I started practicing loving myself, which was weird, just lying in bed going, I love you.
Oh, did you do that thing where you stand in front of the mirror and you say, hello, you are beautiful.
No, I didn't.
You are magnificent. You didn't do that one?
No.
I love you. And you start laughing at yourself in
Yeah.
such hysterics that you end up either crying or laughing. Hopefully it's laughing. But you leave happy?
Yeah. You can say true things that you don't feel. You can actually, you can say true stuff about yourself that you don't yet believe.
Yep.
If it's good,
Yeah.
why not? Say it in the mirror, lie in bed and go, I am loved.
Yeah.
I love myself.
Yeah.
I was weird. It was weird.
I had to learn how to hold myself. So I used to cross my arms and just stroke.
Yeah.
The other thing I used to do was put my hand to my head.
Yeah.
And you know when parents to a baby are stroking them to go to sleep and they stroke?
Yeah.
So just that I could imagine that Creator was loving me.
And fingers on your forehead.
Yeah, and I could fall asleep. And here's someone who couldn't sleep because I was in chronic stress all the time.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, what a project, eh?
I couldn't have done it though unless there's a spiritual path to all this too. And I can't but know the experience of what it has first been like to believe that something bigger than me chose me to be the mother of this little one. And if that was the case, then maybe that great Creator chose me just to be me. And then I would remember all the aunties of my childhood, the Māori aunties giving me breast milk when my mum hadn't come back from class. And I couldn't deny that they loved me. I saw it in their eyes. I saw it in my mother's eyes. I saw it in my Papua New Guinean auntie's eyes. I couldn't deny that this mother, great spirit mother of God, great father spirit of God, really did love me. And it was the greatest challenge to believe. But that's the foundation of my, I guess we call it faith. I am loved and I deserve to be loved, not because of what I've done, but because I've been, I guess I was chosen by that one to be loved. That sounded so clunky.
No, it's pretty bloody awesome. I mean, I'm with you on my path to love was to receive it, was to feel loved by God, was to go, there is love and it's chosen me.
Yeah.
And I choose it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my path to radical acceptance, I think,
Yes.
of myself and therefore other people.
Yes.
Like it's actually like a gift that you get to give away again and again and again.
Yeah.
You lived, you had your child. What happened next?
Oh, I met this beautiful young man.
Whoop, whoop. We love a beautiful young man.
Who was safe and kind
Oh, yeah.
to myself and my baby.
Did you meet him because you'd learnt in part to love yourself? Do you think you?
Oh, heck no. Oh, yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I wonder if when we don't see our own worth and value, then we don't value the people. We don't choose somebody who values us.
Yeah, but I was really anti-men. It doesn't make sense to me that I would.
Of course, you were
be
anti-men.
open. Yeah.
Of course, you were, and yet.
Honestly, I don't know how it all happened.
Okay.
But he was very handsome. He had an amazing body, and he had a smile, and he could tell stories, and he could listen, and he could hear.
Cool.
And it was an experience that I hadn't had much of.
Wow.
And he was a Kiwi, unfortunately.
Okay. Now the story just gets better.
Hello. So I ended up marrying him, and that's Brandon.
Your husband Brandon's Māori, and he whakapapa's back. He's an uri, a descendant of the Māori king, po tātou te whero.
Yes.
Woo, woo, you got royalty.
And so now that we've had more children, I would like to think that I am forever connected
you totally
over the ditch.
You totally are. You get to, you're tangata whenua now.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Isn't it just wonderful?
Yeah.
It's...
Yes.
Yes.
Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander,
yes.
Scottish
Māori,
heritage,
Scottish, yes.
Māori.
Yes.
Hello. Very, very cool. Can I ask you about, because congratulations on the fella and the rest of the whānau. As an Indigenous woman, what's your experience been of perimenopause and menopause, which feels to me like, in Māori it's ruahinitanga. It's like the second becoming of a woman. You're becoming a wise woman.
Wow.
What's your understanding in terms of your own Indigenous culture?
I have always wanted to grow up and become an auntie. Ever since I was small, I thought my greatest becoming will be when I become the auntie. I didn't realise that it actually had to do with a physical change.
Okay.
I am now moving into my auntieship.
Ooh.
And it is a powerful, most wonderful place. I'm actually really loving it. It's uncomfortable.
I hear you, sister.
Yeah.
It is uncomfortable. It's challenging.
It's challenging.
It's chewy.
Yeah.
There are things that have to sort of fall away before other things rise up.
Yes. I really thought there was a monster inside of my body.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that monster interested in?
Swearing.
Okay, yeah.
Wielding glass and smashing, and very angry and resentful at the world.
Okay.
So,
also known as rage.
Also, yes. She just needed to be heard.
Okay.
And when I started listening to her, I started realising how much I was doing for everybody else.
Yes.
How much no one was bloody doing anything for me that I really needed.
Yeah.
And that the scales needed to be
shifted
and rebalanced. I think what I wasn't expecting though, Petra, was how early it came to me.
Okay. Because you're only 45.
I'm only 45. I was thinking that at 50 I would go through the change, but it started happening at 41.
Oh, yeah.
And I have since found out that for black women around the world, it usually hits 5 years earlier than the rest of the population. If someone had have told me that would have been helpful information. I would have been looking for it earlier. Mm-hmm. But whereas others were looking at 45, starting to feel a few symptoms. Why do we call them symptoms?
I know, I call them signs.
Okay, signs. I was looking at them at 38.
Okay.
And wondering what was happening and what I needed to beat out of myself in order to get me back into shape.
Yeah.
So for me, the difficulty with when I dived into the slippery slide or it was more like a roller coaster.
Yes, it is more like a roller coaster.
Perimenopause.
Yeah.
There were just a few things also covering up. We had grief. I had my elderly parents that shifted in close. There was troubles at work. I was going through harassment at work. So I didn't know what stresses were inside of my body coming from within me and what things were external to me because they were all just in one collision.
Yeah, I love even that that you've even talked about that idea that we're, your sandwich generation, you've got young teenagers, I'm taking it, or adolescents in the house, you've got aging parents, and then you've got the work situation, and then what's happening from the inside and what's happening from the outside.
Oh, and COVID years, that was also happening.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's layered, right?
It's so layered.
It's complex.
Very complex. And people would say to me, oh, it's just a season. And they're right, it was a season.
Yes, technically they are correct.
However, I was in a season of crosswind. So I had wind coming from north and south and east and west, and I had a current in my ocean that was coming from all sorts of different directions, and that's called dangerous water.
Okay.
My name, Safina, means ship. I'm the great ship. In Arabic, I'm Noah's Ark.
Okay, cool.
And my second name's Joy. So I'm not the love boat, I'm the joy boat, apparently.
Great, good.
But if we have cross currents coming when we're in our kayaks, we have to get out of that area straight away because that is the most treacherous and dangerous water. And you will get hit by a wave from up, down, across, and you will topple. So the skill is learning, as my dad says, he's an avid sea kayaker.
Okay, cool. Capsized,
and he
don't
says,
get capsized.
Well, no, he says, let yourself be capsized. The trick is if you can recover. Ooh. And so there's sea kayaking rolls that are like gymnastics underwater. Good thing I did gymnastics when I was a young girl, because you literally pivot your hips and use your paddle to leverage yourself out and counterbalance you as you tip your hips to the surface of the water and drag your top half back up to upright. And if you can do that, then if you're bracing and you just happen to not brace enough and you get hit by something, you can roll and go under, hold your breath. And when the time is right, bring yourself back up again. And that, my dear, is the skill I have been learning over the past 5 years. And I haven't drowned yet.
I love that metaphor. It's so good. Can I ask what happened to your brother?
Oh, my beautiful brother. He died 3 years ago from COVID complications. My brother was a remarkable artist and musician, and he produced so many albums. Oka Music. You spell it O-K-A, music. You can look them up on Spotify.
Cool.
But he travelled the world.
Yeah.
And he played the didgeridoo so beautifully. He was a percussionist, but he was a composer, and he could mix anything together. In fact, after this, I'm going to go do a filming for a documentary that's been done, a tribute to his life.
Wow.
And I get to speak into it as his sister.
Wow.
So what a privilege.
Yeah.
He had a remarkable influence on hundreds of thousands of people around the world as he toured with his music, because he had such a big personality. I mean, he was as big as Jonah Lomu.
Wow.
Yes. Big. And he looked like Maui on Moana.
Yeah.
Tattoos. But he had a gentle strength about him. His conviction about what was right or wrong and how to treat people with dignity was so strong, and I think that's why he was so loved, because he would defend people and he would also inspire people to stand up, be their strength, and do it through community. And so when he passed away, the grief across the world was just enormous. And
what was his name?
Stuart Fergie. Yeah.
I should say, what is his name? Because of course
what is
he
his name?
Yeah.
We're here on Yugambeh country. We're recording on Yugambeh country, and this is where he passed away, on this country here, at a hospital close by, just 15 minutes away from here. So I had flown up. My parents had arrived up. My sister-in-law was here, and we were at the hospital just over the road. And my brother went through so many different heart surgeries to keep him alive. The hospital were calling him the warrior. The warrior in the hospital is what they named him, because he survived longer than they ever imagined. They had these machines, ECMO machines, which take the blood from the person and re-oxygenate it to send the blood back into their body, because of course the patient's lungs can no longer function and work, so they can't make their own blood oxygenated again. So his lungs were like concrete, full of the mucus. And so he had these machines which they called the Ferraris of the hospital, because they had engines, the mechanisms and the technology were just so profoundly immense. Well, he went through 6 of them because they couldn't keep up with his huge body. So he really was the warrior, like Maui. And when he passed, the surgeon cried and said, I just don't understand how that happened. How did he was fighting. It's like he chose and he gave up his own spirit. And I remember listening to my mother praying to God, God, take my boy, he's suffering too much. You may take him from me now. Please free my son from his suffering. And I remember my niece's birthday coming up, wondering if he would pass on her birthday. But he chose to go the day before, so that we would have our day of sadness the day before, and she would forever be able to have her birthday on her own day. My brother's a hero, and he's inspired me very much. But if he was here, he would be telling me, hurry up, get on with it. Get on with your life. Live your life. He was the first to defend me at school when the racism and the bullying. The first time I got beaten at school, I ran to my brother and he protected me. And he pushed everybody off. So beautiful. He was the one when I needed to escape my husband, that first one that was no good. He came down and said, no more, no more. You shall never have this ability to hurt my sister and her baby ever again. And he meant it. I knew that he could keep that. And yet he was so gentle and he was so creative, and he believed in people and knew the magic of music and knew how to bring community together and inspire them into great things. And he was so funny, but his smile could melt the room, and he could just call people into attention and have them in the palm of his hand as he entertained them and taught them incredible truths about life and reality and the globe and the world and time in all of its wholeness. So what happened to my brother? Well, he made me a firstborn. That's what happened to my brother. And now I have that mantle of being the firstborn and looking after the rest of the family and taking up the spaces of storytelling and speaking and performing. He's passed that to me now. And so I have to do it. And I do it through that little studio, talking to all sorts of people that come through.
Well, that's a big mantle, and you're carrying it beautifully. I can sense that. Can I ask you, this is the question we always ask last on Grey Areas.
Yeah.
What would your 80-year-old auntie self say to you today?
So I'm 80 now in my imagination.
You are, in your imagination, you are an 80-year-old auntie.
Oh, I can see her straight away. Oh, she would be smiling. She'd be look at me. She'd be going, hey, baby, you did good. Well done. I'm proud of you. I love you. I told you could do it. Yeah.
Yes, she would.
And she'd squeeze me real tight.
Yes, she would.
She'd pinch my cheek like my nana did. And then she would kiss me with a sloppy kiss and then slap me on the bum.
I like your 80-year-old self. She's awesome. Safina Stewart, thank you so much. Ngā mihi nui ki a koe for your time and for your story and for sharing
Thank you.
of yourself. It's greatly appreciated.
Thanks for listening.
Hey.
Some of those stories I haven't told.
Wow.
Thank you.
It's a privilege to receive them. Thank you. Ngā mihi nui ki a koe, Safina, for trusting us with some of your most vulnerable and powerful life stories. What struck me was how vibrant you are and how your spirit burns bright. We need that in our world. So thank you for continuing to work with determination and hope. If you want to find out more about Safina, look up artbysafina.com.au or find her on Instagram @safina.stewart. Season 9 is on its way. More conversations like this are coming soon. So make sure you subscribe and be the first to know when we drop a new episode. Thanks to my production team, Love It Media, and my home crew. You can support our work by a donation to the website grayareas.nz. Oh, yes, please. Until next time, go gently with yourself and all of the cultures you encounter.